Do you dream of holding your book in your hands? Do you have these big, grand ideas of sharing your physical representation of your story with the world, of making it on the New York Times bestseller list, of seeing your book become movies and come to life, the story of yours, to watch your story make a major difference in the world? Do you dream that dream? Because I do. I have dreamt that dream since I was a little girl. And even after writing 7 books, I still dream that dream all the time. I live that dream. This is my passion. And my passion, more than just my own book, is for you to have your book out in the world as well. And why should it matter to me that your book is written when it's not my story? Well, here's the thing. I'm a voracious reader. I read 72 books a year and then some. I love books. But all too often, the books that are out there are the same old story from the same old people. I want your story because I know your story is unique and special, and I want to see it out in the world. Which is why I created this 4-part video series, because I am dedicated to helping get your story out into the world. I think our stories matter. I think that you have a story to tell, and I want to physically hold your book. I want it on my bookshelf. So I'm here to help demystify that really overwhelming publishing process, to take all the lies and misinformation you find on the internet and bring the reality of what publishing is like. I have self-published, I've traditionally published, I've been working as a working writer and in the world of publishing for over 20 years. I know this world, and I know how completely confusing it can be, which is why it matters to me that we demystify the steps of the publishing process. Now, I think that starts with understanding the lies that are out there. There are so many lies that people say, but the biggest lie of all, the one that bothers me, and I think bothers you as well, and really is the detriment to our society and our culture and us as human beings and you as an individual person, is the lie that your story doesn't matter. I know that lie really personally, because when I went to traditionally publish my first book, I got an agent. She loved my writing. I had a popular column in a magazine. I was writing for Curve and Vice. I had columns in both of those, Huffington Post. I had a following online. I was doing all the things that you were supposed to do to get traditionally published. I got that big agent. My agent was Barack Obama's agent, man. I had that big name agent. I had the writing coaches to help me. I spent lots of money getting my book ready. I put together a book proposal. I sent it out. My agent sent it out to places. We felt so amazing and confident. I talked to some publishers at events that heard about my following and knew that I had this like online kind of following happening. I thought I was there. And then 6 months of waiting and nothing. I finally got a call from my agent saying that every single publisher and press she tried turned me down. Their reasoning? No one is going to buy a lesbian sex story. I was a sex blogger. I was the first that I know of lesbian sex blogger on the internet. And I had a big following back then in the day. I was writing as Query Bradshaw. Don't look it up if you're not at work. If you're at work, it's not safe for work. And I had created this brilliant, beautiful following. And yet that wasn't enough for them. They said nobody would want to buy a lesbian sex memoir. Nobody wants to read about lesbian sex. They said my writing was beautiful. They loved that I had a following, but it wasn't quite famous enough to make them take the risk on publishing a book about lesbian sex. That was the first time that I realized that this publishing world doesn't care about me, not all fully. They care about profits, and that's okay. They're in business. They're allowed to care not about the stories, but about whether the stories would make back their return on investment. I got it, but I hated it. I absolutely hate it. So when it came time to write my next book, Body Love, 10 Steps to Profoundly Loving Your Body, what did I do? I did it again. I didn't learn my lesson. I tried to find me that traditional publisher. I went through the process again. This time, actually, I'd planned on self-publishing it, but a publisher approached me, said, "We love what you're doing online. We think it's great. Can you put together a book proposal? We would love to publish it." And then they rejected me again, even after coming after me. So I understand this lie. I understand it so well. This lie that we're told that our story doesn't matter. Most especially marginalized groups. Nobody wanted to publish my first book because people don't really care about lesbian sex. Nobody wanted to publish my second book. I was rejected because I didn't have a big enough following, and who's really gonna want to hear about fat girls loving themselves? These are the ways in which they reject us and our stories. Parts of marginalized community, your story could be rejected from these people. But if you understand what it takes to get to publishing, you can get traditionally published. And if you understand how amazing self-publishing can be, you can get your book out in the world without having to wait for a publisher. And if you understand that there's a thing called hybrid publishing where they can help you kind of with a combination of both, you can get your story out in the world. If you break through that first lie that your story doesn't matter, and you understand that the truth is the world needs your story now more than it ever has before. Once you get through that first lie, then you can start taking the steps to getting published. Then you can start to work towards that ultimate goal of holding your book in your hand. But your first step is to take a moment and let go of that idea that your story doesn't matter. I don't care what your story is. I guarantee you it matters. I guarantee you the world needs your story now more than ever. Okay, so once you let go of that lie, once you take some time to really release that idea that your story wouldn't matter, I want you to know that anyone can get published, and that means you. But that doesn't mean that anyone can put something quality and polished out in the world. I want you to create something that is more than just a rough draft or vanity. I hate to use the term vanity because I think it's often used against people, but also more than just like for you, something that you can share with others that can change this world. And to do that, you're going to need to go through a 3-step process. It's going to make sure that your book is ready for publishing. Okay, are you ready for that process? Amazing, because I'm about to share it with you. All you have to do is go below and click on the button to get to the next video. And in that video, I'm going to show you the 3-step process to make sure that your book is as polished and as wonderful and as accessible as can be. So head on over to the link, click to the next video, and I will see you then.